Thanks, Sue. Morning, guys. Welcome to the Forti Friday webinar. Today I'm going to be doing a run-through of the FortiManager and also show you some of the FortiAnalyser functionality that is actually included with the FortiManager. I'll start by saying that although it does have a fully functioning FortiManager within the FortiAnalyser, within the FortiManager, the logging capabilities aren't as great as running a standalone FortiAnalyser. The FortiManager is limited to 50 gigs of logs per day and about 16 terabytes of storage space. The FortiAnalyser is capable of drastically increasing that amount of logging on a per daily basis, and also within the amount of storage space that you can use over a specific period of time. So the FortiManager, this is the latest version, 5.4. A point of note here that if you're currently running FortiManager on 5.2 and you're looking at installing version 5.4 on your FortiGate, then you will also have to upgrade to 5.4 of the FortiManager. The reasoning behind that is because the 5.2 version of FortiManager doesn't have the database compatibility for 5.4. So as you can see, for those of you that have used FortiManager in the past, it's quite a lot different in the GUI. That's really the main change to the actual functionality of the box. It's more of a general look and feel of how you use the box itself. As you can see here, I've got a number of virtual domains, ADOMs configured. For those of you that don't know what an ADOM is, an ADOM is like a VDOM. It's a separate instance of the unit. So, for example, if you were running FortiMail, FortiGate, FortiDDoS, you would have to have a separate ADOM for each of those three appliances. The way the ADOM licensing works is that base license is 10 ADOMs. An ADOM is equivalent to a physical box or a VDOM, so a virtual domain. So if you have a FortiGate with 3 virtual domains associated to it, then that is 3 ADOMs of your FortiManager license. Likewise, if you have 3 FortiGates all with a single domain, it's classed as 3 ADOMs. Okay, so this is the front page. Everything's split up nicely and logically for you now, rather than having all the tabs down the left-hand side here. What I'll do is I'll basically start at the system settings and work my way through various bits and pieces of the functionality of the unit, and then I'll go through an install of a device just to show you how easy it is to actually import a physical firewall into the FortiManager appliance. For your information, this is a virtual machine. There is also FortiManager appliances available out there. Generally, if I'm speccing a FortiManager for a reseller or end user, I would always recommend the virtual machine option. The reason behind that is that it's more scalable in terms of licensing. It's very similar to the way that you license a FortiAnalyser, in so much as you can buy ADOMs in packs of 10 or 20 as you grow. And as you increase those number of ADOMs, the storage capacity for the analyzer feature also increases with that. So from a system settings point of view, this is the system settings on the FortiManager. They are pretty much identical to that of the FortiAnalyser. So there's no real changes. It's very straightforward to configure. As you can see here, we have our ADOMs. Everything is configured on the FortiGate side for 5.4. This is an ADOM that I've created for a device that I have running version 5.2. If we want to create a new one, we click on Create here. We type in the name. We type in what version of code we want, and we select OK, and that's our ADOM created. So, for example, if I want to import a FortiGate running 5.0, then I would import it into this ADOM here, again because it is a separate database compared to 5.4 and 5.2. The storage information, this basically tells me how much storage space each of my ADOMs is currently using within my FortiManager. Network. All we need here is a management IP address on a management network, something that all your devices can actually speak to. As long as they can speak to the FortiManager and have FMG access enabled on their interface, then we can import the device into the FortiManager. FortiManager will also do high availability. A difference between the FortiManager and the FortiAnalyser here, the FortiAnalyser cannot do high availability. You can, however, have a pair of FortiAnalysers, and you can configure each of their separate IP addresses to the FortiGate on the command line. However, the FortiGate will not send traffic to both of those analyzers. If your main priority analyzer fails, then the logs won't get passed over to the secondary. The FortiGate will just continue from that point in time logging to the secondary device. Administrators, here we can create separate administrators with different levels of access. We can nail this down to certain administrators having access to specific add-ons. That's very popular in the MSSP environment, where a partner or a reseller has multiple different end users. They all have their own add-on with their FortiGate or FortiGate VDOM associated with them. They can only ever see their VDOM or add-on within their configuration, so they can't affect anybody else's traffic or policies passing through the firewall. Fetcher management here, this is related to logging, so we can enable certificates. It's just for increased security past our FortiAnalyser traffic over and running reports and so on and so forth. The event log, pretty straightforward. This is just telling us what's happened on the box. So, for example, we can see an event here, so we've created a configuration database and so on and so forth. And then the task monitor, we say, right, okay, what's been going on the box from a management point of view? Well, we can see here that the device manager has deleted the device this morning. That's me doing some testing. And it tells us which add-on it's related to over here, and which of the, which add-on it is, and what version of code that box is on. So I've highlighted it here as FG 5.2, so it's a FortiGate running 5.2 of the firmware. We can also configure SNMP trapping, so if you've got SolarWinds or PRTG or SNMPC, we can configure the FortiManager to report to those devices. The mail server, again, we can configure event messages to be sent to a mail account. This is for both the FortiAnalyser feature of the FortiManager and the FortiManager itself. So, for example, if we create a report within the FortiAnalyser functionality of this unit, we can set it to automatically send an email out to a specific person. We can configure syslog. So syslog options, basically, again, this is more related to the FortiAnalyser feature. If we're running out of our specified number of logging functionality today, so for example, if we can only create 1 gigabit of logs per day, when we're coming to reach that point, we can automatically roll the log. So the log rolls, it gets set to 0 again, but the 1 gigabyte of log that we've already created gets pushed out to our syslog server. Then we've got the meta fields. This is quite a popular feature with the FortiManager. It basically allows us to append specific fields to any of these options here. The most popular is the firewall policy. So, for example, we could create one, and we can say, right, okay, we want to add a specific field to our firewall policy, and we could put in, for example, change ID. So, for example, if you're in an environment with a very strict change control, before somebody actually applies a policy to a policy profile, they have to put the change request ID in there. If they don't, they will not be able to apply it. The device log settings, I've just mentioned this briefly on the syslog option here. So this is where we specify when the log exceeds a certain amount of traffic, or megabits of data, then we can say, right, okay, we want to push the logs to the syslog server. We could roll the log file at a scheduled time as well if we wanted to. And then the file management option here, this is where we can delete specific files or whether reports or quarantine files after a certain amount of time. This is general housekeeping. Some environments where we've installed FortiManagers, they require certain time periods where data has to be retained for, generally 6 months. So we can set that option here. So for example, we set option there, month, and then 6, and apply it. And then the advanced options here, if you want to apply specific user profiles to specific add-ons, then you need to select the advanced add-on mode here. In the past on FortiManager, this used to remove some of the functionality. However, that is not the case now. It's still full functionality if you enable the advanced add-on feature. So I'm going to jump to the device manager now and show you how simple it is to create or to import the device into the FortiManager. So I'm going to select this add-on here. As you can see at the moment, there's no device in there. You basically click
Have you got the same
add a device.
price? Yeah.
And we click next. It tells us what the firewall is, the serial number, so on and so forth. It tells us what version of the firmware we're on, and the HA status. Click next. Per device. So once it's completed the add device option, it will then ask us to, if we'd like to import the policy, which we will do. So when it says import the policy, it basically means the firewall rules that are currently on that firewall. There aren't any rules on this particular unit. So I've just basically fired it up this morning, but I've got another box we can flip back to show you rules and so on and so forth. So do import. This is a really important option here. If you're going to import device, import the object, make sure you import all. And basically it imports everything from the FortiGate, and then when you do your first policy push up to the FortiGate from the FortiManager, it will automatically remove any unreferenced objects in your firewall policy. And you can check that by using the preview button, so it'll tell you exactly what it's going to remove. So finished. So because we've got the FortiAnalyser feature enabled, it also tells us that we're logging on this FortiGate unit as well. So that's how simple it is to import a firewall to the FortiManager. If we click these options here, as you can see, there's nothing to indicate where we make routing changes, where we create VPNs and so on and so forth. This is because by default a lot of the functionality is switched off. So if you go to display options here, we select customize, we select check all, and then we see all the options come here. This query option is basically the monitor, so it will monitor DHCP connections and so on and so forth. But what I'll do now is I'll flick to a unit with some more data on there, it will become more apparent. So if we go to this one here, so this is the firewall that's currently sat in our lab environment. We've got full functionality within the FortiManager, so we can change routing statements, we can change security profiles, VPN connections, so on and so forth. So if we look at the query option that I configured yesterday, that we just saw before, there you can see we've got a VPN connection. This is a site-to-site connection funnily enough, back to my house. We can configure phase 1 and phase 2 parameters just as we would with the FortiGate firewall itself. Now all these options are great, but what's the difference between using the FortiManager and compared to the FortiGate? Well, the main difference is that on a FortiGate, if we make any changes to the firewall, whether that be a firewall policy or create an object, as soon as we click apply, that change is automatically is automatically configured and applied to the firewall. With the FortiManager, it's slightly different. Basically, any changes that you make on the FortiManager, they're held within the FortiManager until somebody physically goes to the FortiManager, right-clicks, and does a reinstall policy. So, for example, if we look at our policy options here, sorry, go back to the device manager here. There's been a config change here, and we know there's been a config change because it says modified. If it says out of sync, it means that the change has been made on the FortiGate and not on FortiManager. The best practice to prevent that is remove all admin access to the FortiGate and just allow FortiManager access to the firewall. So, a couple of options here. The install config basically installs the config. The import policy imports the policy from the FortiGate to the FortiManager, and the reinstall policy imports the policy changes that have been made by the FortiManager up to the FortiGate. Now, the good thing about the reinstall policy, if we the install config, if we go OK there, that's interesting. Let's just update it now. We've got a conflict there, so this basically means that somebody's made changes on the firewall directly. If we use this option here, we'll be able to see what changes have been made, because it will give the option for us to preview the config before it's pushed to the actual firewall. Very slow. Okay. Someone's obviously made changes on this unit. Let me cancel that. Okay. So if we go back to we'll go back onto the policy here rather than making changes. I'll just show you what you can actually do. So this is the firewall policy. We can make any changes as we would do on another FortiGate device. So we can click on new, stick a name in, whatever it might be, and all the relevant. So we select our interface. So we go VLAN 10 to VLAN 20. Like the FortiGate, we can select multiple here in one instance. So like just running it on FortiGate on 5.4. Select our user, so we'll select this user here. Action. This is another option on the FortiManager that's different to the FortiGate. The action on the FortiGate is automatically allow. On the FortiManager, it's set to deny, so we select accept. It then gives us the option to do nothing if we want to, and traffic shaping and so on and so forth. We apply it, and we can see the policy down at the bottom here. However, it's not actually been applied. It's waiting for someone to do a push up to the firewall. Object configurations here, again, these are all the general FortiGate object configurations, so we can have new objects. We can say, right, okay, we want a specific subnet, a specific service creating. We can do this, however, again, none of the config is pushed up to the FortiGate until we tell it to push it to the FortiGate. So you might create an object and jump back onto the FortiGate and think, well, hang on, it's not there. The reason is because it hasn't been pushed. Another nice option within the FortiManager is a dynamic object. So a dynamic object is an object that can relate to multiple different virtual domains. So you can associate a particular object with multiple virtual domains, i.e. that object has the same name, but it has a separate or different IP address relating to a specific VDOM. It's basically good housekeeping, so it means that you're not creating multiple objects with the same name or a name and then _1, _2, so on and so forth. You just need to create the one object and associate it with a specific virtual domain. Just to mention, sorry, this policy package here, this is the policy package for this firewall. If we want to create a separate policy package, we can do. So, for example, we could create one policy package for multiple different firewalls. We can then pass that policy package up to all of those firewalls. So it's basically one policy for multiple end devices. Another option regarding changes to the firewall, there's an option called Workspace mode. I've not enabled it on this unit because it can get a bit confusing when you're trying to push policies and stuff. That's all geared around companies that are very stringent about their change control. So it will basically allow you to configure specific users to apply changes to the firewall. However, what they have to do is create a session, and the session, in essence, locks the ADOM. They make the change, and that change is then passed to someone higher up the hierarchy. So, for example, an admin user. The admin user can then accept or reject that change. They can also view the change. Once they accept it, the admin user can push the change themselves, or basically the person that's made the change in the first instance will receive an email saying, okay, this has been authorized. They can log back into the ADOM, right-click, and push the policy to the firewall. There's also the option of the VPN Manager. So this is this option. This is in 5.2 as well. So you can have you can create a VPN topology. It's just a single pane of glass where you can configure multiple VPNs. So if you've got a meshed VPN setup, so for failover and so on and so forth, then we can manage all that via the actual FortiManager. Again, to make any changes, we have to push them to the FortiGate unit. FortiGuard, once you've installed a FortiManager and then you've applied, you've imported the FortiGate unit to the FortiManager, the FortiManager automatically does all the FortiGuard updates for the end unit unless you explicitly tell it not to. So it will handle everything like AV updates, IPS signatures, web filtering, etc., and it will push them back down to the unit, to each individual unit within each individual ADOM. so we can see what packages have been downloaded over the past few days. If we want to, we can end them, so we can say, right, okay, we want to use this option instead of the latest option. There might be a bug in there, might be something that breaks your network. Then it means we can roll the options back. We can also manage our firmware images from the FortiManager. So it will automatically download the latest versions of code, and if it detects that we have a FortiGate with a version of code that is, can be updated if we want to, then we can change it here. So we can say, right, okay, we want to change this to the latest version of code. You select OK, and then it will schedule a time when the code is pushed to the FortiGate unit. So again, you can do that out of hours. You could do it if you're brave. You can do it when you're not in the office. I wouldn't advise that, just in case something goes wrong halfway down the line. But again, it's all about central management of each of your multiple devices, if you have devices. Okay, I'm going to jump on to the FortiAnalyser options within FortiManager. It's basically a fully functional analyzer. It doesn't quite have the full capability of, and that's only down to the amount of logging and the amount of data storage that you can apply to the VM. But besides that, everything else is just as a FortiAnalyser would be. So here we have the FortiView option, which we get on all our FortiGate firewalls. It's broken up into various different sections within the FortiAnalyser feature of the FortiManager, so we can see what are our top sources. We can filter. We can also go back a number of weeks if we wanted to, whereas on the FortiGate some of the boxes are limited to 7 days or a week or a month, depending on the size of the FortiGate unit you've got. But the main functionality of the FortiAnalyser is obviously the reporting options. Now, all these reports here, these are standard reports that come with the unit. So, for example, if we take this 360 overview here, we can decide what we want to run. So we can say, right, let's have a look at the settings. Do we want to report on all of our ADOMs? Yes, we can. Or we then, if we want to, we can specify specific firewalls. If we've got multiple firewalls within an ADOM, we can specify which firewall we want to run the report from. The reporting option is it's done on a per ADOM basis. So if we flick to a different ADOM, the changes that we make within this ADOM will not show in another ADOM. So, for example, a work ADOM or whatever it might be. So it's unique to each specific ADOM within the FortiManager. So we can do a schedule, so we can schedule a report. We can say, right, okay, we want to run it daily or weekly or monthly. We set the date that we want it to start from, and then if we want, we can set an end date. We can then set the enable notification. So we've got a notification profile here, which is my FortiMail unit. We go, okay, we'll apply that. We can then alter, if we wanted to, we can alter the layout. However, you need to clone a report before you can actually change the layout. Standard reports you cannot change. You can only change the data that you're trying to pull from the actual firewall, i.e. the number of days and so on and so forth. And then if we run the report, as you can see, there's multiple options for downloading, so CSV, XML, most popular obviously PDF and HTML. So if we look at the HTML report, this tells us what the firewall's doing, malicious applications, and so on and so forth. It's it's a very powerful tool. Probably one of the best bits of functionality of the unit is that you can actually create your own custom reports. So if you're good with SQL queries, you can create your own custom reports. I'll show you how to do that in a second. The output profile here that we mentioned, this is where we configure our device where we want to email the report to. So you might have directors, or you might want to email out specific end users a weekly report on their bandwidth and who's been trying to access what. We can configure that here. We can enable multiple different email addresses to send out to, and so on and so forth. So if we go to creating a custom report, so for example, we'll create a new one here just to show you how quite simple it can be. We'll call this one domains underscore, and we do it from a blank report. Okay, and we'll say, right, okay, with time period, last 7 days will be fine. We'll enable a schedule, so we'll do it on a weekly basis. We'll start it today. We won't bother with the notification. We'll click apply. We then need to create a data set. So if we go to data set here, we click create new. We'll call it domains underscore visited. Last 7 days. Now this is where we put the SQL query. So here's one I made earlier. So if we click on this here, we'll see, copy that, paste that. Now the beauty of the FortiAnalyser feature of this is that you can actually test the query before you actually try and apply it to report, just to make sure it's working. So if we click test, oh, we've got a problem there. Destination does not exist. Interesting. Okay. That's strange. Okay. That's interesting. Not working today. Change that. Oh, column does not exist. Ah, I know what it is. Sorry, it's that. Okay, so test that. No data. No data. Right. There's no data. It's probably because there's not a lot coming through from the firewall, but we know that the search result works. So we click OK to accept it. We can then create a chart to go with that. So we create a new chart. We call it domain visited. We select our data sets. So domain there. Okay. Everything else is fine. We click that OK. We go to the report. We've got our domain visited there. So on the actual report, if we want to, we can change the layout. So if we go, layout, and then we can add specifics. So we can add we can add type. Sorry, here it is. Sorry. So if we go to customize here, the front cover, we can say, right, okay, if we want to put our own company logo in there, we can do if we want to. So for example, we browse, we upload your company image to the FortiManager, and we select that, and that. Okay, and once that's created, click apply, and then we can run the report. So here's one that I ran yesterday, so there should be some. So as you can see here, we've got the domains visited. The difference on the HTML is that we don't get the nice fluffy, front page and so on and so forth. It's really the raw data. So if we just flip back onto the PDF option and then click there and there, we get the front page and it's all nicely set out as a report. But there's no information on that one. Sorry, this one. So here we can see the domains that have been hit at a specific point of time. If you create a custom report and you do it on over a schedule, so you schedule it to run on a weekly basis, then basically it'll be shown in the report calendar here. If we click on this, it will then take us to the report, so it will automatically download it, and there's the 360 report that was run on Wednesday of this week. Okay, I'll open the floor up to questions, so please feel free to ask some questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them for you. Do many of you guys run FortiManager, FortiAnalyser at the moment within any of your end users, or maybe on your own premises? Okay guys, thanks for attending this morning. If you would like any other products in the next, any specific products overviewed in the next Forti Friday, please feel free to email myself or David Elevy or Sue Thomas at Exclusive Network, and we will do our utmost to to give you the product information that you require. Once again, thanks for attending this morning, and look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks' time on the next Forti Friday.